Start us off, Carter.
Hey, I'm John Madden, and welcome to Bowl. So we're gonna get the X's and O's. The X's are really good at blocking, but the O's are really good at tackling. Oh man, who's gonna end up getting the big play? Who's gonna change the fortune of this small little town who has nothing to believe in but the ball, my friends. The power of the footed ball.
Oh my God, kill me. Why do I let you take over when Callum's not here?
Yeah, I panic and it results in disaster. This is established.
All right. Welcome to CastPod, a mostly Carter and Kevin episode, but it still kind of explains football, and Callum's lurking in the background. Um, things are a little different. The NFL draft is coming up soon, at the end of this month, if I upload correctly.
About 19 or so days away.
Yeah, give or take. And an idea we had for a while, and when I said we, I mean we, excluding Callum, was getting into a real in-depth discussion about the quarterbacks specifically, because there's a lot of talk about like just different team changes, but I don't know if you agree with me, Carter, but a good team revolves around a strong quarterback.
I mean, more and more. Again, this was the discourse. It's been the discourse for a while, but it was solidified with that Bills Chiefs game, the famous 13 seconds game, where every team kind of had to look in the mirror and be like, "Well, can our guy do this? Can our guy just go toe to toe with the best in the league and
And
score
Joey
some
Burrow
massive
can.
touchdowns?" Yeah, and the answer is like five teams were like, "Yes," and the other teams were like, "Oh fuck."
Also, there's like, in my opinion, the hierarchy is you need a strong quarterback, followed by strong offensive line for your offense.
Oh
That
yeah.
that combination is the hugest threat.
I mean, as I've said in Carter Explains Football, the game is so hopelessly stacked against defense. It's mostly just about great quarterback, great line, great receivers in any combination. And then you at least have a chance to win a Super Bowl. Maybe things have to, maybe you have to have one, but like, that's what gets you rolling as a team.
All right. So in this episode, Carter and I are going to go through all 32 teams. Uh,
Oh,
hopefully,
God.
hopefully one episode. Um, and we're going to talk a couple things.
It is 2 in the morning.
It's 2 in the morning, but we're going to do it because we're assholes. Um,
Yes. I'm just gonna.
we're going to talk all 32 teams, their quarterbacks starting last year, how they did. It's not going to be super in depth. It's just, did they suck? Did they not suck? And who their quarterback is going to be as of right now, on April 2nd, technically, um, who their starting quarterback is projected to be for the 2023-2024 season. And if we have any pickups on who they should start, or if they need to pick, like if they're going to pick someone up in the draft or from the free agency or anything like that. Um, all right, Carter, you want to start us off?
All right.
All
We are
right.
going in alphabetical order, if this line is to be believed.
Yep.
The Arizona Cardinals, who
Wait.
truly had a rock bottom year. Well, what should have been a rock bottom year last year,
Yeah.
but I feel like we could go lower. Um,
4-13 overall.
yes, a truly embarrassing offseason where they gave often criticized GM and coach, and then they gave their starting quarterback a contract that included a clause where he had to watch film for 8 hours, and basically it was heavily implied that he was playing video games, supposed to be watching film. Uh, this quarterback in question is Kyler Murray,
Mm-hmm.
truly one of the most physically dynamic quarterback position, but who seems to just not maybe not be up to snuff for the NFL space. I don't know how you feel about this.
I can agree. I think, in my opinion, this is kind of going into a little bit of the like a little ahead of skipping out his current like his last season. I don't think Kyler Murray should start the 2023 season.
I mean, well, for starters, he probably won't be able to because he tore his ACL
Yeah, that's a
last.
bad injury. That's long term.
Yeah, he will be at least out till about midseason at best.
Hmm.
And I mean, it's a confluence of things, right? Because for starters, he's pretty unprecedented in terms of size. He is a pretty small quarterback, and even though he has he's proven a tough guy on the field. It's like if you're that small as a quarterback, how many hits can you take before you just can't do?
Yeah.
Um, on top of the fact that it wasn't going well when he was. Um, Again, they won 4 games, and it seemed like the entire offseason leading up to this the team didn't believe in him. Again, like asking him to watch 8 hours of football where you could possibly pick. Because it's like, okay, if you say 30 hours, it's like, well, that's Peyton Manning level. That's
Yeah,
like,
that's
I'm
absurd.
obsessed with the sport of football.
Eight
If you say 2 hours, it's like, is this man brain dead? Like, he's getting paid to do this.
eight
It's somehow really sad.
eight's a very sad number where it's like
The bare
eight.
minimum.
Yeah,
True.
like traditionally speaking, of like if you work a 40-hour work week, you work 5 8-hour days. And so like if you think about it like that, it's just out of one of his work days of the week, he's being asked to watch film. In my opinion, that means he just doesn't watch any film like at all.
And you know
And
what?
that
I'll
might
tell you,
explain the 4 and 13 honestly.
and I will say, I kind of feel bad for him because I've listened to a lot of podcasts about him, and it really was. He is maybe the most successful football player in Texas football history. Like, he literally did not lose a game in high school. Texas high school football, the highest level of football you can play in high school level.
That's the top breed of high school football, honestly.
Exactly. If you win state championship in football, you're golden. You literally don't have to do anything else, and you don't have to pay a meal or drink in your state again. And then he went on to football or college football, where he won a Heisman and lost like 1 game at most. I would have to check the numbers. And now he comes to this shitty Arizona Cardinals that can't get anything right, and literally drafted him after they drafted Josh Rosen a
Hmm.
year before. That's how listless they are as a franchise, where they're like, oh, we gave this guy, we tried everything or we tried nothing, and we're all out of ideas.
Yeah.
Um, and now he has a torn up knee on a bad team. And on top of that, I'm just like, I don't know if this guy can handle the pressure of losing. Like, people pointed out, like, it's so funny they brought up the video game thing with him because that playoff loss he had against the Rams, he looked tilted. He looked like he wanted to slam his controller into the TV. He looked like he was just done. And
Oh.
can I give you my hot take about the Arizona?
Hit me with it. I'm excited. I want to hear it.
All right. I truly believe they will have the number one pick coming into after this year, after this coming football season. They will have the number one overall pick, and they will draft another quarterback. They will draft Caleb Williams and trade Kyler Murray to the highest bidder.
Interesting.
Because this franchise is so listless in terms of just like we don't have a plan. We're just going to keep drafting until a plan we stumble into talent, and Kyler Murray isn't going to play anyway for like half the and there's a dearth of talent on this team to begin with. I just think it's going to go really bad. They're going to clean house, and they already fired their coach.
Yeah. Gannon's in charge.
Right. And I think they're just going to go like, look, we tried with Kyler Murray. We tried. Someone else can figure this out. We're not going to pass up on Caleb Williams.
Here's
We can talk about him later.
Yeah. Here's my thought process on the Cardinals for the upcoming season. Excuse me, I got to burp a little bit apparently.
Maybe.
I think Kyler Murray is going to still be considered the starter, even though Colt McCoy, alleged second string, might be starting for the first couple games of the season. Because, first off, Jonathan Gannon, their new head coach, former Eagles defensive coordinator, by the way, um,
Hilarious.
yeah, very much sold on Kyler Murray. Like when he first switched there, I remember seeing there was a whole meeting, like post about him meeting Kyler Murray from like one of the weight rooms and stuff. And he's very much sold on Kyler Murray, but I don't think Kyler Murray is that guy. And they're not going to draft a quarterback this year because they just lost Watt. And Watt was too good of a player that they didn't need to worry about that position, that they have to draft somebody good very early on for him.
Hmm.
So like Kyler Murray and Colt McCoy, while they didn't do good last season, they can at least pass by.
Right.
But you need that JJ Watt replacement.
Right. I mean, that's also like again, their team is bad. Their defense is horrific. Their offense is scattershot at best, and they're
Mm-hmm.
probably gonna lose DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, but they
Like,
picked up Kenny Max Boy, Kazir White for the defense on
you
a
know what?
Super
Chase
Bowl
that
level
bag.
team.
Chase that bag.
Mm-hmm.
No hate. Get those dollars. Again, if there's anything I've learned from this NFL, get the money while you can get it, and
Yeah.
don't. Do you have any final thoughts for the Cardinals before we move on?
All right. So final thoughts for the Cardinals. Who do you think should start next season? The 2023-24 season. I think it should be Colt McCoy.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Colt McCoy because again, this franchise is fucking lit. They need to lose. They need to just eat cap. Need to get draft picks, and they need to reboot hard out of all of these teams.
Mm-hmm. All right. How about let's talk about the 7-10 Atlanta Falcons with
Oh,
previous starting quarterback Marcus Mariota.
you know
I
what? I hit me for. You know what? You go first.
here's my only take on this entire depth chart of quarterbacks from the Falcons is when Marcus Mariota was not renewed a contract for the Falcons. I said the second he entered free agency that that man would be an ideal second string for the Eagles, and I was right. That's
You're not wrong.
my only opinion. I think he's a good enough vet. I think he's a very good veteran. I think he can be good given the right wide receiver corps or even tight end corps.
Hmm.
But I don't think he's that all around guy.
Yes, I will say that I drafted Kyle Pitts, and I was getting so mad that he wasn't catching any passes. And then the Falcons happened to have a prime game, and I went, "Oh, I understand now." Marcus Mariota could not throw a football last year. You
No.
watch him and you realize, so he had nerve damage in his hand. He literally could not grip a football properly, and that showed. He couldn't. He just he was in the Cam Newton space of like, oh, anything past 10 yards, he just can't guarantee it will be accurate,
Don't
and
tell
it was
Kenny
so
Mac that.
frustrating.
Yeah.
Um, and it was so frustrating because that team genuinely has a lot of blue chip players.
Mm-hmm.
Like Cordell, I love Cordell Patterson. He is the most football player who's ever footballed. And Drake London is just a superstar wide receiver. Like I love him. He's just one of those wide receivers. And they're just and Kyle Pitts again is the dream. He's a unicorn. He's a wide receiver who happens to be the size of a refrigerator. And
Mm-hmm.
yet they can't do anything because the quarterback position is so bad. And that is why the Falcons piss me off. Because if you're going to ask me who should be their starting quarterback for next year, it should be Lamar fucking Jackson. But they refuse for reasons we will get into because I see
Yeah. Yeah. We're gonna get into the Ravens next.
Yes. all I would say on this front, this moment is, if I were a citizen of Atlanta and Arthur Blank, billionaire owner, was trying to tell me that I should be happy, I should spend season ticket level money on Desmond Ritter being my quarterback, I would go full French protest. I would get I would get someone to backhoe his cars into a pile and set
Hmm.
fire. I would get utilities to cut off water and power to his home. This is unfucking acceptable. This football team simply has too much talent to die on the vine with Desmond Ritter as our
Hmm.
quarterback. What are we doing here, people?
Yeah, really though. Um, I don't really have a lot of strong opinions on the Falcons. So, do you want to? And I see my pick for who which I think they should start next season. If you want to give yours first.
Again, Lamar Jackson. Because here's the thing: you went 7-10 this year with a quarterback who couldn't throw the ball more than
Yeah.
10 yards. You're not going to be bad enough to get Caleb Williams. All of this is overhung with the spectrum of Caleb Williams is coming out next year, and he is the. Oh, but no, for real, this is the next Patrick Mahomes, because he is like the next Patrick Mahomes in terms of same size, same frame, same athleticism,
Does
same
he also
rugged.
sound like Kermit the Frog?
I've actually never heard him talk. That's a funny thing. I've only watched clips. I've only seen him in game, but he is the guy who can kind of do it all. He can run, he can pass, he can jump, he can shoot, he can dance. Unless you're planning to, I can accept some of these teams not going for Lamar Jackson if you are grading on the curve of well, we could just suck this year and get Caleb, and then we have him for 5 years on a cheap deal.
Hmm.
The Falcons aren't going to be one of those teams, so you're just running in circles.
All right. So your dream start is Lamar Jackson. Honestly, I don't think Lamar's if they get that trade, I don't think Lamar's going to the Falcons if they get that deal. I think the right call is Taylor Heineke, newly acquired Taylor Heineke. I think I think given the right assets, because he did not terrible with Washington football team. I know they're called the Commanders, but Washington football team sounds cooler in my head. I don't. Desmond Riddler definitely not the guy. Taylor Haneke has proven himself to be at least good enough to start.
Competent.
Hmm.
Well, yeah, Taylor Heineke follows in the tradition of lovable guy and perfect barometer for how good your football team is in terms of, hey, do you need 12 wins or do you need 8 wins? He'll get you 8 wins. Do you need 10 wins? He'll get you 8 wins.
Yeah,
Where for a while on the Bills, we had Tyrod Taylor and Ryan Fitzpatrick, and they were perfect for
thought
evaluating
about that.
talent. They are just good enough to get you take your talent. If you have a winning team, they'll get you wins, but if you have a losing team, they'll get you losses.
Yeah,
Like,
it depends on the rest of the team more than the quarterback.
and that's perfect for figuring out where are we. Are we in a position to compete in the playoffs regularly or rebuild?
Hmm.
So if Taylor Heineke starts for the Falcons, I'll be that's fine. I can live with that. If Desmond Ritter starts for this team, I will be calling collusion against the entire NFL because that's simply unacceptable. That is, you should be demoted to college football, the XFL level nonsense.
Yes, I love the XFL.
Yeah.
Um, that's a different conversation.
There are 3 or 4 franchises where I'm if you trot this quarterback out and expect me to accept you as a serious football team, no, you're not allowed. No, all of your games are. You have to go play in the XFL.
Hmm. All right. How about let's talk about Lamar some more. The 10-7 Ravens.
Hold on, let me just chug this real quick.
Oh, Curtis got a drink for this one, so I guess I'll start. Honestly, I'm going to have a very hot take on this one. Lamar Jackson overrated.
Oh no.
I think like this is gonna generate some genuine NFL hatred from this take. I think Lamar Jackson is over talked. Like I think he's good, but I don't think he's as good as people say he is. And he requested a trade from the team, so he's not playing next season. While Tyler Huntley might not be the guy, he's solid enough to at least maintain the team. Because the Baltimore Ravens, besides just adding Gahor this last season or this last offseason, they have Mark Andrews, arguably the like I'm a big tight end guy. That's arguably like outside of lineman, that's my favorite position on the field. And Mark Andrews is arguably one of like top 3 best tight ends currently in the NFL. He's got to compete with George Kittle and Travis Kelce. I don't think there's anyone that stands on the same pedestal as those 3. So he just needs a quarterback that can throw. Like, doesn't have to be far. It could be Marcus Mariota 10 yards. But I think Lamar is overrated. Like, I respect the like going for that bag. He's got to get that money. But being worth as much as he's asking for, that's fair. And he wants to lead a team to the Super Bowl. Like, that's a fact. He said that in, I believe, a March 2nd, 2023 tweet. He wants to lead to the Super Bowl. And I don't think the Ravens are at that point. So I respect him wanting to go to a different team. But I think he's asking for too much. I think he's proving why you gotta have an agent. All right, Carter. Where
All right.
where does my hot take stand?
I I just disagree. I'm just gonna go off for a minute. I'm gonna wrap it. I'm vibe it. Just bear with me. I'm gonna say, like, if a calamity were to happen in John Ball anymore, if there was one quarterback I could get in the NFL who would replace him for the Buffalo Bills, it would be Lamar Demetrius Jackson. That man is a one-man offense. I feel like it is grossly underrated how much that man has had to do and how little the Baltimore Ravens have given him. Because I love the Ravens frame this as, oh, we are the only team that has believed in him. We are the only team has given him what he needed. And I'm like, oh, really? You believed in him so much you drafted Hayden Hurst, a tight end
Yep.
who isn't even on the fucking team anymore before him. He is now on his third team.
Yep.
And you only traded back into the first round to get him so you could get that fifth-year option because that is so like glamorous with quarterbacks to have him on a cheap contract for 5 years. You built an offense that is exclusively around running up the middle. You've built you basically built the Pennsbury football offense around him. Even though this man is the most dynamic open field runner in history. The funny thing is, if you swapped Greg Roman with the Dayball Ken Dorsey offenses, I
Okay.
think both teams would be happy because Lamar would be in a spread wide shotgun formation where it's like, okay, the fact that I can run scares the defense enough that these mid tier receivers get open.
Mm-hmm.
And then if that doesn't work, oh, I have an entire field to just razzle dazzle and slide before I get hit. Instead, he's stuck in a compressed offense where he has to run the ball up the middle and get hit 70 times a game.
Yeah, I can respect
And
that.
whereas Josh Allen is a big Labrador, take that hit. Um, like the best receiver they've gotten him is Rashad Bateman, who has been hurt 90% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
If your best receiver, independent of Robert Gronkowski and Travis Kelce, best receiver is a tight end. You done fucked up in terms of your tight end play, or receiver play.
I would
You done
say
fucked
you
up.
did good on your tight end play. You done fucked up on your receivers.
Exactly. Like he has played with nothing. This man has dragged his team to respectability for years now, and the fact that the Ravens jerked him around to the point where any of this could have even happened is comical at best. The
Mm-hmm.
Ravens frame themselves as the stone cold face of professionalism in the NFL. They liken themselves to the Pittsburgh Steelers as like, yes, we are the guaranteed franchises of the National Football League. We will
Mm-hmm.
assure that at worst we do 9-7 and get into the playoffs. The fact that you jerked him around to this point is clown shit. Pure clown shit. And I will, like, I'm not going to fully homer for Lamar on this sense. Like, it would have helped to get an
No.
agent because it would have let you control the narrative. Like,
Correct.
the Ravens have fully been control of the narrative here. And
Correct.
now you're scrambling to regain control. Like, it's not great, but I
No.
respect you for saying, like, hey, I want to get my cut. Like, there's a middle ground here you could have taken where it's like, you control the narrative, but, you're not that much of a renegade.
Yeah.
And I laugh because the fact that all of this was caused by the stupid fucking Browns is hilarious. But we'll get to that
Yeah.
when we talk about the Browns.
We'll talk about the Browns in a
Like,
little bit.
like again, like Lamar is fighting a battle that is much bigger than him. It is a battle of like, hey, if we're gonna put quarterbacks on this pedestal, they should get guaranteed contracts.
Correct.
Like, if there's one guy other than like it's like Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow in terms of like the quadrant of people who could fight this battle. And I respect them for fighting this battle for better or worse.
I just like I respect the fight that Lamar Jackson's putting up. I respect his talent. I'm not going to deny the dude's freaking talented. I think he's overhyped.
And I
And
will just say, like, a part of the problem is the rest of his team isn't good.
no.
Warrant
Oh, I
it needs
fully
to.
I fully agree. Like I said kind of earlier, he's got Mark Andrews to rely on, and that's pretty much it, receiver wise. And that dude's a tight end. Like I'm not, I won't refute your point of he's got no receivers going for him. The dude's a good athlete, just overhyped, in my opinion. And honestly, Tyler Huntley started in 2023 because Lamar basically said he wants to be traded, and worst case scenario, he doesn't play next season and he gets picked up by somebody else in the following season.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how that ends up because, like, I could see a scenario where Lamar just sucks it up and plays just to prove a point, but like Tyler Huntley ain't that bad, but
He's not the same quality as Lamar Jackson, but he's not terrible.
yeah, like the embodiment of diet Lamar Jackson is embodied by that unfortunate
Mm-hmm.
play where he decided to try and jump 2 yards from the goal line and watch the ball get
Yeah,
volleyball punched out of his hands. Like,
I.
again, if there's ever a selling point for Lamar Jackson, that because like, yeah, I wouldn't do this.
Mm-hmm. All right, Carter. Let's shift gears a little bit because we both agree Lamar Jackson definitely should get paid more. I'm saying not as much as you're saying, but he should get paid more.
Mm.
And Tyler Huntley's going to start for the Ravens. All right, let's talk about your team, the 13-3 Buffalo Bills with Joshy Boy.
It's everybody's fault but Joshi. Again, I'm scared because, like, them getting embarrassed in the playoffs, getting fully pantsed by the Denver or the Cincinnati Bengals.
They looked like bitches, honestly, in that playoff game.
Yeah, they actually got humiliated. I was just the amount I was literally just in a mental spiral from like halfway through the first quarter.
I remember those texts.
Yep. Yeah. Credit to Callum for identifying I was having a breakdown. Um, it was embarrassing, but also for someone who's kind of been a doomer about it, because he knows better. He's grown up in a decade of pure Bills. Because my father grew up. He's been alive for as long as the Bills have been a football team. but he was an adult during the '90s run, like when we were a good team. I've only grown up in the bad times, and I identified like, hey, for all the talk about the 13 seconds, even if you change the playoff rules, this team has some faults. Like we were struggling leading up to the playoff, and all of those struggles came to play. Like too many times, the offense boiled down to Josh, do something, please,
Yeah.
and that became depressing. The problem is, even though despite getting pantsed, I feel like we're in a situation when the Emperor can declare that no, 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 I still have pants on. I have the most resplendent pants on, actually, because we have not properly answered the problems with wide receiver. Gabe Davis is simply not a number two wide receiver. A number two receiver needs to be that grizzly, gritty guy who gets the first down no matter what. And
Mhm.
Gabe Davis simply isn't that. We've
Yeah.
gotten a couple fun gadget players. We got some guys from the Saints and the Dolphins who are good at like in space, but that's not getting you first downs.
No.
There's talk about getting Odell Beckham. There's talks about getting DeAndre Hopkins.
Mhm.
But until we get that number two wide receiver, I just I don't know. I don't believe
I
because for me the problem isn't Josh Allen. Josh Allen
Josh
is
Allen's not
what
the
he
problem.
is. Yeah, because at the end of the day, in terms of like quarterbacks in this NFL, what their best game is, I would pick Josh Allen even over Patrick Mahomes because like Josh Allen is a 6'5" refrigerator going at full speed with rocket shoes on him. And I'm like, well, you can't really beat that, You can't really stop that.
I think Josh Allen would be like he would be in the same like considered on the same pedestal even more with Patrick Mahomes if he was given a better team.
Yeah.
Like
And that's my
Chiefs
fair.
built around Patrick Mahomes. The honestly, when we talk about the Chiefs, it's going to be us talking up Patrick Mahomes. That's what's going to happen. And I think Josh like Josh is he's a dog. He's got that dog in him, but the Buffalo Bills don't have that dog in them compared.
Oh no, I mean it's a part of it's just coaching because like a part of me, like apparently Brian Dable was annoyed that he wasn't the head coach of the Bills, and I'm like, why didn't we? Why didn't we? And
And what he
like,
did with Danny Dimes that we'll talk about later, like dude's a good coach.
oh yeah, and like there was a sobering aspect of like I was listening to all these podcasts after the Bills lost to the Bengals, and it's like, oh man, it's almost like there's a precedent for this group of coaches who formerly worked with the Panthers, wasting a generationally talented quarterback and not winning a Super Bowl. Like so much of this coaching staff worked on the Panthers during the Cam Newton era, and I'm just seeing history repeat itself, and I want to die. Um, and yeah, it's just annoying because it's like we can't waste this. And to the credit, it seems like our general manager Brandon Bean has caught up on that because it's like, okay, we're gonna invest in a line. We've done a whole bunch of O line where it's not just the five starters, but now we have some depth. So if one gets hurt, we don't just crater. And
Mm-hmm.
also, the pick of Damian Harris is actually really sneaky because you got him for super cheap and for a single year. He's a great running back. Like, he gets a lot of touchdowns in
Yep.
short yardage situations. But, like, if Deshaun Robinson falls to you, you can still take him. And you
Mm-hmm.
just have a triumvirate of him, James Cook, and Damian. And then after the year, Damian goes his separate way, and you have two really good young running backs. I just this has to be the year. It's do or die time. Let's do it.
I think they've set the I think with this offseason they're setting themselves up for more success than previously. It's
Mm-hmm.
just the execution of said success. It's kind of like how I don't want to get too into it because it will create controversy amongst me internally of the Eagles defense more or less losing them the Super Bowl
Mm-hmm.
and new head coach to the Cardinals again and kind of being to blame for it of poor execution of great players, and I feel like that's kind of the state the Bills are in.
Yeah, it's just yeah, it's like you have a all back guaranteeing you a certain amount of wins, and the GM and quarterback or coach knowing that that will save your job for years on end. But it's like I don't care about your job. I care about a Super Bowl. Are you gonna get me a Super Bowl?
Hmm. I think I think Josh Allen's perfectly capable of leading a Super Bowl worthy team. I just don't
Right.
think they built around him enough.
No. I mean, again, it's like someone talked about it. It's like, oh, they did the Peyton Manning problem, finesse team, and it's like, oh, their O line can't handle the winter, and their D line can't handle the winter. Thing just craters.
Hmm. All right. Speaking of not being able to handle things, Carolina Panthers. We're gonna like we both clearly agree. Josh Allen's gonna start the court for the Bills.
Oh yeah,
So
well,
Carolina
no
Panthers.
doubt.
Last season, half the season, Baker Mayfield, who got switched teams halfway through the season, then started Sam Darnold, who will not be starting this upcoming
Not really.
season. 7-10, Carolina Panthers, part of the, in my opinion, the most dog shit division of the NFL this last season.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was anyone can win, but not in a good way.
Oh,
And
like,
allegedly, like they have the number one draft pick, and they're definitely picking a quarterback up. They have Andy Dalton as their alleged starting QB, but I don't think it's going to be Andy Dalton. I think they're going to start with a rookie. I
mm-hmm.
think Andy Dalton's going to be used as that. In my opinion, every team should have. He's a veteran resource. He's
Oh
not.
yeah.
He's not terrible. He's not he's not a top tier quarterback, like on the same level as a lot of the other quarterbacks, but he's very good at being a resource. Kind of like Marcus Mariota. He's good at being, he would be a great resource. He's got enough veteran instincts in him and a veteran knowledge to teach, but I don't think he has the physical abilities to execute himself.
Oh yeah. Again, he's a great barometer back where it's like just good enough that you understand like, but not good enough to get you wins.
Yeah, and I think I wasn't sure who they would pick for, right off the bat. I was kind of leaning towards C.J. Stroud, but they might be going to. Ah, crap! Why did I forget his name last second? Who's the short kid?
Uh, Bryce Young.
Bryce Young. It's their first because they traded up significantly. Like it was a stupid deal for the Bears to decline that for that
Right.
first
Yeah.
pick.
It genuinely was the best deal the Bears could have possibly gotten.
Like they got four. I think they got for their just first round pick. They got three picks and a receiver, a quality receiver. I will say they did do some work in the offseason so far. They picked up Booby Sanders, my man, love him, quality receiver or quality running back, and they picked up oh crap, what's his name? Thielen from the Vikings.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce his name. So they're setting something up, and I think they're gonna build a team around their next rookie, like based off of who they picked up and where people are lying and who, like especially in the quarterbacks. I think they're gonna build their team around a quarterback, and it's gonna be either C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young, whoever they take first. I'm personally thinking they're gonna take Bryce over C.J.
Mm. Yeah, I will say it is utterly impressive that despite trading away their best receiver, it feels we're stronger than it was. Um, like they've built this. Well,
They
on top of that, they traded away their best run of the year. the off season or the year before because they traded away.
They did a rebranding year. Like, they clearly did a
Yeah.
rebranding year.
Oh yeah, they absolutely did a rebranding. Like, to their credit, they fired their coach and they're just like, look, we're gonna have to eat it a little bit this year, but it'll pay off in the long term. And it paid off in the long term that they traded a boatload to get the number one overall pick and get to say who they decided the quarterback was going to be.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
they're using Miles Sanders to replace a playoff level quarterback with Christian
right.
McCaffrey.
Um, yeah, I will say it's interesting. Like, I've gone back and forth on this class. Like, last year's draft class was just kind of nothing. Like,
Hmm.
it's a testament to how the NFL is with, like, getting a rookie quarterback in the first round so you get their rookie contract.
Hmm.
And still only one team track back in the first round. Um, this season is good, but every single quarterback that red flag where if they screw up, you can be like, well, obviously they weren't good.
Yeah.
See this and this. Um, I go back and forth. My gut says CJ Stroud because this team isn't that bad. This team won
No.
7 games despite having calamitous quarterback play and losing their star offensive player
Yeah.
halfway through the year to a trade. Like, they are a team that feels like they are going to embrace like the ultimate and solid ceiling player of CJ Stroud, where it is a man who is terrifyingly accurate. Sword. And
Quality
is
quarterback.
capable of some, yeah, he like again. If we were doing this 5 years, he would be the number. Like there would be no question. Like if we
Hmm.
were doing this in like 2005, it's like, oh, this man is the perfect quarterback. But it's only because we are in the age of quarterback that people are less high on him.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, well, can he do this? It's like, well, he did some stuff in the Georgia game, but that's not guaranteed. Long, like he just feels like the right pick for a team that has just enough talent to be consistent, especially in their division that's crap.
Hmm.
And also for Frank Wright, a man who just slummet his Indianapolis Colts years in terms of like, oh, um, like I'm expected to make a stopgap veteran back who I just met. Like I imagine he's like, no, let's get a sure thing. Let's get a stable, guaranteed process. Let's go because I can't do wild cards anymore.
Hmm. I think, yeah, no, the right choice for the Panthers is going to be a rookie quarterback. I just don't. I think at that number one spot, Bryce Young might be that guy. I'm leaning more towards him than C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud is far from the wrong choice, but I think with the amount of rebuilding they've been doing, Bryce Young might be that guy.
Yeah, it's tough because like if he was even an inch taller, people would be tripping over
If
themselves
if
because
the
he
kid
has
was
everything.
taller, he would have. I would honestly be like he's first choice no matter what.
Right. He is everything you want in a quarterback in terms of intangibles. He's got a strong arm.
Hmm.
He's great in the pocket. He's
Yeah.
great at understanding pressure. He's a great leader. Never heard a bad thing about him. But the problem is he's a shrimp. He is an unprecedented shrimp. We can't guarantee he won't die after
Yeah.
being hit times.
All right, Carter. Castpod bets, a new segment that I'm in making up on the spot. And Callum lurking in the background. You're welcome to join too. $10. Who gets picked? Not who gets picked first. $10. What percentage of the top 10 picks are going to be quarterbacks? I'm thinking 40%. 40% or higher are going to be quarterbacks.
Yeah, 40% because people have talked themselves Levis. What's insane is people are talking about Brandon Hooker, Hayden Hooker, being a first round pick, and I'm like, that's a great guy for the Bills to get around like diet Josh Allen.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, no, no. At this point, there's too much hype about Will
of
Levis.
course.
Um, yeah, I'm gonna say percent as well. I can't imagine Hayden makes it into the first. Like, I can't imagine he makes it to the top 10, but someone will draft him at the end of the first round of sheer desperation. And I like him. I
Hmm.
genuinely like him. It's like, think value here, people. If you're gonna get on running backs cases for not being ready later.
All right, Carter. How about let's go? Let's go. I think this is going to be a very quick conversation. The 12-4 Cincinnati Bengals with Joey Burrow as the leading quarterback, and he's going to lead into the next year and the following year. And I think as of right now for the Bengals, Joe Burrow is the guy.
Yeah, the biggest challenge is figuring out what the quarterback market is in terms of money,
Hmm.
because like I think him and his agent are playing it well in terms of like, well, let's wait to see what Lamar gets and what other quarterbacks get to see what I can get. Because again, he's been to a Super Bowl and an AFC
Yeah,
Championship game.
he's a quarterback to blow the bank on. Honestly, like any extra cap space that you have, just tack it onto his deal.
Yeah, and the biggest challenge for him is going to be like, the biggest challenge for him is how much of this talent can they keep around him after he gets his money.
Mm-hmm.
Because as long as he has Higby or Higgins and
T. Higgins and Chase.
Chase, he's golden.
Yeah,
But if they can't keep those two together, it's going to start being a problem.
it's gonna be a pricey thing to do, but I think the Bengals are at a spot right now where they can do it. They've proved themselves on like the last 2 years alone that Joe Burrow's pretty much the guy. They've
Yeah.
done like last last year they got beaten out for the by the Chiefs for the final game, the big old game. And the year before they were in the Super Bowl. I think like it's a clear cut. They know what they're doing at this point.
Oh, yeah. And it really just comes down to like, he is like, I hate to compare younger players to older players and legends, but like he is the closest we've gotten to Tom Brady in a while in terms of like he is just a sheer conductor of an orchestra, and as
Hmm.
long as you keep the orchestra around him, he will make magic.
I
So your priority has to be, how do I talk the orchestra into not going to different pastures?
hmm I think I think he's not going to suffer the same fate as Patrick Mahomes, where and I'll talk about this when we talk about the Chiefs more, where Patrick Mahomes was in a position like he's quality in his field. However, anything he did was up like clearly overplayed. Not he was on Patrick Mahomes underplayed, and the veteran QBs like Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, like that have been in the game for a million and a half years. It's just like, Patrick Mahomes might have done better, but Tom Brady started this many games in the last this many years,
Mm-hmm.
and I think Joe Burrow as a couple as well as a couple other quarterbacks is in that like he's in that sweet spot where he's just getting super big now, so his achievements are going to be recognized as opposed to others.
Right. Like he does have the advantage. Like, because permanently Mahomes has to get compared to Tom Brady. It's going to be the
Absolutely,
quote unquote GOAT discussion.
it's going to be
Joe Burrow,
yeah.
yeah, and even like he has, because like in spite of it all, people still want to put Josh Allen in front of him,
Hmm.
and like I think Joe Burrow works in a weird like shadow area, which it's
I
like, oh yeah, he's not the fastest or the strongest arm, but he's still winning. He's still making it work. He's still an all-time great leader.
I think in I guess in comparison to recent years, like Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady is definitely going to be a conversation for years to come. But I think like Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, they're going to be compared more to like Eli Manning, where quality quarterback overall, but he's not the guy of the NFL, if that makes sense.
Right. No, that honestly that actually tricks a lot. Like because again, like we go back and like I feel like the NFL has mixed feelings about Eli, but like look, he had all the tools. He had the pedigree,
He's
and I
won
feel like
Super
that's what
Bowls.
yeah, he won Super Bowls. That's I feel like where Joe Burrow lies. It's not
Hmm.
bad. That's good. And Joe Burrow has the advantage that
Yeah,
he's younger and like has more arguably more physical traits.
yeah, and he's got the wide receiver corpse too. Like let's not sleep on that too. He's got the assets as of right now.
Right. Which is the main thing, honestly.
And I think he's got a solid one more season before contracts become an issue.
Yeah.
I think.
I do think at this point with all the drama well, it's hard to say. It's like are the Bengals waiting to sign a contract or is he waiting to sign a contract? Because it makes sense that he would wait because it's
Hmm.
like, well, if Lamar gets a fully guaranteed contract, I'm just gonna put my foot down and get it.
Yeah, it's really just gonna depend on so many just outside of basic level factors of you good quarterback, you win games. I think it's gonna be on so many outside factors of how much Lamar gets, how much he thinks he should get. Like that
Mm.
that level of bag is going to be determined
Oh yeah.
due to outside factors. Speaking of outside factors, the three. Sorry, I almost gave them way too many wins. The 3-14 Chicago Bears, because we both know Joey B is going to start. It's clear as day with Justin Fields. The argument's pretty much on the Chicago Bears. Is Justin Fields the guy?
Here's my stance. Well, one, the Bears are, in terms of like teams I believe in, the Bears are one of those great of a team where it's like you could not convince me. If I just did not watch a single football game this season, or like if I only watched football this year and didn't see the final score, I
Mm-hmm.
you could not convince me that the Bears were 13-14 because they were infinitely more competitive than that record
Mm-hmm.
suggests.
Yeah.
Am I convinced? I love Justin Herbert, or I love Justin Fields. I was like fully locked in on him as a prospect to the point where I'm like, are we 100% sure that Trevor Lawrence is number one?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, is this not a flip of the coin?
Yeah.
Um, and it's like, am I convinced they figured it out with him? Point where they can lock in on him? I don't know. He's still rough around the edges. I don't know if they built the right system around him. But at the end of the day, the trick with quarterbacks is this idea of like you need to make sure your guy can run with the big boys. Like they can play with the big boys.
Mm-hmm.
Like because so many times we get rookie quarterbacks who you almost immediately realize not speed with the NFL. Like it's the Josh Rosen thing of like it only took 1 year to realize like no, this guy simply cannot do this at an NFL level. This is not happening. And Justin Fields, for all his faults, has shown up. Like he's shown he can run with the big boys.
Mm-hmm.
And why draft another quarterback and flip the coin on this guy when you can just say, at least this guy is competent and we can build a team around him. And then if it turns out he's not the guy, we can just swap another guy in.
Yeah. I think. Yeah, I think with Justin Fields, I think last season he wasn't set for success.
Oh, yeah, they
However,
left him to
I,
die.
this upcoming season. They picked up Foreman with their stupidly good deal from the Panthers. Like I think part of the deal was they weren't gonna give up the Panthers, like they weren't gonna accept the Panthers deal unless they threw in Foreman. And Foreman was a stupidly good deal. They picked up a good tight end from the Packers. They picked up some defensive ends. Like, hot take. I've said, like, based off of free agency alone, there's two teams to be on the lookout for significant improvement. I'm not saying they're going to be winning the Super Bowl. I'm saying they're just going to significantly improve over the last year. And the Chicago Bears is one of them. And you can quote me on this. April 2nd of the 2023, like before the season even starts. And I'll take the ridicule if I'm wrong. But I think the Bears have, like, with Justin Fields and his potential, and the Bears their pickups from the last season, plus their stupid amount of cap space, if I recall correctly, the Bears are a sleeper team for the 2023-2024 offseason.
Oh, absolutely. They've actually played this offseason really well in terms of, like, getting themselves into position.
Mm-hmm. Justin Fields has weapons. That's the only, that's the bare minimum statement.
They're in the perfect position where they're a young team who can surprise and playoffs and, like, compete, or they'll stink and it'll be like, oh, well, we have enough talent and we'll just swap out the quarterback and try again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're playing with house money.
Yeah. I think they're set up for, like, they're going to be set up for greatness. Like, a couple offensive solid drafts for them. And it doesn't have to be first round picks. It can be like just anyone really solid. Backup receivers, backup running backs, because they also picked up Montgomery, a very quality running back. So it's like they've got strong potential for this upcoming season, and they're going to be one of my sleeper picks.
Right. I agree with that.
All right, 7-10, Cleveland Browns, everyone's favorite Family Guy character. Do we even care to talk about them that much? It's the Cleveland Browns.
No, I don't want to give them the dignity of that much talk. All I'm gonna say is these stupid fucking assholes. Again, we had a good thing going with Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens, and then these stupid Browns, the rock bottom of maybe the entire sports scene.
They really are the dumpster fire of the team. Like, honestly, they're the dumpster fire of the sport.
Yeah. How many other franchises are this invalid in terms of, we lost, we literally went 1-32 in a 2-year span, and we somehow didn't get any good players out of that.
Yeah.
And out of sheer desperation, we gave a multiple-time accused sex pest more money than anyone has ever gotten to play the sport, because we are so desperate for any level of talent. And then he shows up and sucks.
Yep.
You can't write a more cartoonish, Doctor, I am Pagliocci, and Pagliocci happens to be signed to the Cleveland Browns. Fuck them for destroying the economics of the NFL. They suck. Their souls are tainted. I hate them. And they have to play Deshaun Watson anyway. They spent too much money to do anything else.
Pretty much. Alright, so we're just gonna pretty much ignore them. The Cleveland Browns are gonna make stupid decisions. I hope Dobbs starts, or Kellen Mond, or I don't care who starts, honestly.
I hope he gets it benched at some point for Dobbs or Mond, and they have to start from scratch.
All right.
God judges them internally.
And the last team of this episode, we're going to end on this one. We've been going a little long. It's going to be a long one. And we're going to have multiple episodes of the series. As much as I hate to say it, the 12-5 Dallas Cowboys with Dak Prescott and other stuff.
The thing is, I feel like Dak Prescott is kind of underrated at this point because, like, the man can. He's a talented quarterback. Like, maybe he doesn't run as much, but at the same time, I would be less inclined to run into a wall of, like, 6'2" guys who run a 4.4 after my leg exploded in a very public manner.
Mm-hmm.
And again, what's scary, what's amazing is the Cowboys probably should be, like, maybe not above, but at least constantly competing with the Eagles. But they got rid of their good coach, like Kellen Moore, in favor of, like, they fired him, or they let him go in favor of letting McCarthy coach the entire team. McCarthy, who famously left the Packers, and then Aaron Rodgers went on to have 2 MVP seasons. Like, a guy whose team it seemed to succeed in spite of him. He now gets to decide everything for the team.
Mm-hmm.
I feel bad for Dak Prescott because, like, fourth round picks, a fourth round pick to rise up against the odds, like, he deserves a little better than this. But as long as Jerry Jones owns the idea of a coordinator or coach being more famous than him, they're just going to be stuck in this middle ground.
Yeah.
Where they're just good enough to lose in heartbreaking fashion in the playoffs.
The worst part about the worst part about the Cowboys is by far Jerry Jones.
Yeah. Like, you never want to be in a situation with a sports team you like where you just days told the person who owns it dies.
Mm-hmm.
That's a ghoulish and sad place to be.
Yeah. Unfortunately, for the last season, my favorite part about the Dallas Cowboys is their fourth string quarterback, DiNucci, my man who left the NFL, started on the best team of the XFL. And when I say the best team, I don't mean stats, I just mean who I root for. The Seattle Sea Dragons. He's their starting quarterback now. And that's the only good thing I can say about the Cowboys. I don't. It's the best thing about it is they provide insight, and they have when they're reviewing a play, they show the room where they're reviewing it, and they have a microphone on, so you can hear them discussing the play, and that's in my opinion the best part about it.
Oh yeah.
But what I can say about the Cowboys is it doesn't matter who they start. Go Birds. They're going to lose anyway. Dak's going to choke in the playoffs. Cooper's going to choke in the playoffs. Will's going to choke in the playoffs.
We underrate.
If they make it there, they're going to choke.
I feel like we underrate in history how insane it was that they had Dak Prescott do a quarterback draw with 10 seconds left, thinking they could somehow rush to the line, spike the ball. Truly a unhinged.
They got rid of a technically speaking a playoff quality center with Ezekiel Elliott. That play was not even like praying for the heavens. That was just praying to get mentioned on ESPN. That's what that play was.
Right? It really felt like Kellen Moore being like, I'm going to get this fired so I can take his job. I'm going to deliberately throw this game so the head coach gets fired. Beautiful. I couldn't have drawn it up better. What a guy. What a play. I can't believe that this is considered a serious football team.
Yep. It's rather unfortunate. And with ending on a very sour note, Carter sent us home.
A.M. Chris Collinsworth and
Pick somebody
Matt
else. Pick somebody else.
Barkley.
Nope. Hold on. We're nixing this. I hate.
Tony Romo. I'm Tony Romo and Josh Allen. They keep trying to do interventions for. I got the money. Fuck you, haters.
Yeah, I'll take Tony Romo over Chris Collinsworth, honestly. All right, catch us next time where Carter and I will talk about at least the Broncos through the. Let's go with. I'm trying to think of who's a fair team to end at.
Well, if we start before 1 in the morning,
yeah, we'll start.
The rest of them.
I'll say we'll start. We'll at least next time we'll do Broncos through the Jaguars alphabetically. We'll get episode 2 through them. Solid, or at least through the Jaguars. I scrolled up the list a little bit and realized how short that list is. But we'll at least do those guys. And you can catch us on our Twitch streams that are mentioned, or not mentioned, but clearly on the screen part of this YouTube video. Mm-hmm. Let us know if you think we're wrong about some of these picks. Who are the who are the Panthers going to pick as their number 1 overall pick? Which quarterback? Because let's be real here, it's not going to be a not quarterback. For their first overall pick of the draft. Hopefully we'll be able to record. We should be able to get the other recordings out before the draft even starts. And we'll talk a little bit more about the other teams then. Follow us on our Twitch streams. Follow us on @CastPodTweeter, where we don't actually tweet from. We just have a Twitter. Buy CastPod merch. Listen to Disney Desk. It might be dying. Woo! Who knows?
No, it's after April 1st. Where we just did a huge episode on Star Wars. We covered the entire. It's like a really in-depth of Disney owning Star Wars from their acquisition in 2013, 12, but like to the modern day. It's everything you want from a Star Wars episode. So give it a like, give it a click, give it a ganda, give it a booch. That's all.
All right. So till next time, this is Kevin and Carter talking football, and we both agree that Lamar Jackson's overrated. I'm going to end the episode before Carter